H1B is very, very limiting. You can only do one job. You cannot do multiple jobs. You cannot have a side business or a side hustle. You're just limited to doing one job. So there came a point where I was feeling very, very anxious and very depressed. I wasn't feeling very happy or fulfilled, right? So I was going through a lot of mental health issues, I would say. And that kind of completely disappeared the moment I came to India, right? Because
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Desi Return. Today, I'm excited to have Aditi on our show. Aditi went to US for her post-graduation and spent 14 years before deciding to move back to India. She worked there for almost 12 years in IT, worked in different places, and really looking forward to the discussion in getting insights about her life and what made her to move to India and how she planned for that and so on. With that, welcome Aditi to the show.
thank you so much, Avi, for having me.
That's great. So Aditi, let's start a bit about your background. What made you to go to US and how was the life there and what made you to think about moving back to India?
Definitely. So I went to US for my master's in 2010. It was directly after my bachelor's. And I remember in my third or fourth year of college, I just felt like that time India was just getting into the IT space and tech was just booming. But I just felt like most of the opportunities were in the US. So I was looking toward I wanted to build a stellar career in tech industry. And I just thought US would be the right place for me. And at the same time, I've always been an explorer. So I was like, I need to get out of the country and explore a different part of the world altogether.
Yeah.
And see how is life in the Western countries. So that was my motivation to go to US and pursue a graduate degree. And then after that, I also got the opportunity to work in US for 12 years. And through that, I got to meet people from different backgrounds, different cultures. I got to learn so many new technical skills, right? So the exposure that I got in US was just outstanding and amazing. And I think initially, I think during the first 5 years, I was almost sure that I probably settle in US.
Yeah.
But I think in last 3 to 4 years, my complete view and perspective started changing. And I was like, maybe, you know what, I should go back to India and see how life is like there and probably take a break from US life and just kind of experience it. Also, thinking about the fact that India is now one of the world's fastest growing economy in the world. So I was like, I also want to have a share of pie and to see what kind of opportunities India can offer me. I was always in touch with my family, friends back in India. And they just, over the years, they just started painting me a picture that, oh, India is developing, it's growing. Now there are so much job opportunities. Now necessarily you don't have to become an engineer or a doctor, but now you can also pursue opportunities in other fields that you're really, really passionate about. So I think that was one of the reasons. Well, I also want to point out another major factor. I was actually very, very frustrated by the whole visa processing, right? It would take years for me to get my green card. Then it is, H1B is very, very limiting. You can only do one job. You cannot do multiple jobs. You cannot have a side business or a side hustle. You're just limited to doing one job. And I just felt like that was very, very limiting for me. And I wanted to explore entrepreneurship and other things on the side that I wasn't able to in US.
Yeah.
So I was like, probably it's time for me to go back to India and explore other passions of mine.
Thanks for that overview. So just wanted to check a little bit about, I think in the last 3 to 4 years, you have the idea about returning back to India. And so if you can, so from that idea to action, how did you come up with this is the time I want to move back? So if you can talk a little bit about it, that would be fantastic.
Oh, absolutely. So to be very honest with you, I think back in 2017 or 2018 time frame, I started having visa issues. I was getting RFCs for literally everything, whether it was extension, whether it was I-140. So then it kind of struck me that, my life, the life that I've set up in US might not be permanent. It can end anytime. So to be very honest with you, I had started preparing from 2017.
Okay.
What I started doing is that with the suggestion of my father, I started enrolling in the mutual fund SIP plan here in India. I started investing in India just to, have a backup setup in India because I wasn't sure how long will I be able to continue in US just because of visa issues. Um, and then what happened now? Fast forward to early 2023, actually, I just noticed that, whatever money that I'm invested in mutual funds in India just grew 110%. So then I started having a discussion with my father. And I'm like, oh my God, what is going on in India right now? Like, I didn't have that kind of a growth in US when I was investing. But the way the money, it like not even doubled, tripled in India. So that kind of took me by surprise.
Yeah.
And then I started having discussion with family and friends. And as I told you, my parents were visiting me literally every year. They would come and stay with me here. So I would also get to know experiences of people back in India through them.
Yep.
They would tell me all the stories. So I kind of got very, very inspired. Again, I was just thinking, and then right around the middle of 2023, I just started noticing people around me getting laid off. I just started seeing US economy not doing that great. And then I think probably it was this year in January when I just thought, things are not looking good around me as of now. So I just thought it's a sign from the universe that it's probably time for me, to go back. Because as it is, I have like a 25 or 30-year long way to get my green card. Probably I'll retire after that. I'll get my green card. So then I was like, I think yeah, it's time for me to just pack up and go back to India and just explore new possibilities and new opportunities. And I was just excited learning about the India growth story.
Yeah.
And I was like, not only I want to contribute, but I also want to, get a, pie of it or really benefit from what is going on in India right now.
Okay.
So that was my, that's how everything unfolded, to be honest with you.
That's great. So sounds like all these, different trigger points kind of made you to make the decision. So just wondering, was there anything that you have done from a career planning perspective, or have you started applying, or you wanted to take a break, or you wanted to apply after moving back to India? Just curious on that. Anything that you have done from a career perspective before moving?
So, again, I'll be very honest with you. Last 3-4 years have been very challenging, both mentally and physically, right? I was feeling very, very stressed out. I was feeling lonely. I started feeling a bit depressed. So from a career standpoint, I didn't do any extensive planning. But what I did was, I was like, it's time for me. I worked for 12 straight years. And even back in the days when I would come on vacation to India, it was just like for 2 or 3 weeks. So I decided to give myself a gift of sabbatical.
Yeah.
So I decided to take a break for like 4 or 5 months, just travel around, spend time with family. I have seen entire US, but I've not seen my own country. So now my goal is to, see incredible India. Visit every state. I've like covered almost 34 to 35 states in US.
Yeah.
But within India, I've hardly seen anything.
Yeah.
So I decided to take a break, to rejuvenate, to refresh, because I just felt last couple of years was very, very tough. So I decided, it's time for me to take a break from all the hustle and bustle and just lead a peaceful life for 4 or 5 months, spend quality time with my family. There was a time back in 2020 during COVID, I could not even attend my own sister's wedding, right? Because of the travel ban, then not getting appointments for stamping. So I have just missed out on so many important family milestones and events. So, that kind of made me so uneasy. So I was like, okay, at least 2024, couple of months, I just want to dedicate not only reconnect with my close family, but also with my extended family, really old friends, right? The friends that I've known for, 20 years, 25 years. So yeah, so just decided to take a break. And also on the side, I wanted to explore certain business opportunities, right? So when I was in US, I was owning a house and I was doing Airbnb. And while doing Airbnb, I learned the Airbnb business.
Yeah.
So, and then I did a lot of research in India. And then I was like, probably it's a great time to invest in a property in India and probably start an Airbnb business. So I'm still in the research phase.
Yeah.
I'm talking to different property owners. I'm figuring out which city is the best city for investment. So I am pursuing other passions on the side. Right now, I'm not working at all. But yeah, I have kind of now begun the process of looking for a job, but I'm not in a hurry, or I'm not like, oh, I want to get a job right away. Wherever it happens, it happens. But on the side, I'm pursuing other business opportunities. I'm also doing travel entrepreneurship. So I just recently got into that space. So yeah, so I have like travel entrepreneurship, Airbnb. I'm also trying to do some freelancing, like IT consulting freelancing work, which just takes up maybe probably 3-4 hours a day, not much.
Yeah.
So I can have a good work-life balance. So like really enjoying this break right now.
Oh, it makes sense. So, giving yourself the time, I think the time is the most important thing, and having the flexibility to follow your passions. I think that's one of the things you mentioned is the reasons to move back, so that you have the flexibility to do whatever you want, right? And not just work for one job.
Correct.
So how is the life in India so far for you?
It's amazing. It's amazing. It's so convenient, right? I feel like in US, you just have to do everything on your own. But here you have the luxury of hiring domestic help. And I just feel like public transportation system is just so amazing here in India. Even if you cannot drive here in India, I mean, obviously there is Uber and Ola, but there is rickshaws. Now there are e-rickshaws and there are like, public buses. And now they also have metros. And the connectivity is just so amazing. And another important point I would like to highlight is food.
Yeah.
I feel like India is a food heaven.
Yeah.
Sometimes, and the food is available 24/7, unlike US where everything closes at 10 p.m., right? Here I go for a morning walk, and then by the end of my morning walk around 7:30 a.m., I'm able to get a juice from a street side vendor. Plus, I can have a breakfast right on the streets. I don't have to wait until 9 or 10 a.m. for restaurants to open. So it's just these little things which make your life so convenient, right? Um, and yeah, definitely having house help. I think that's the biggest factor for me because I think in US you are just so preoccupied in doing so much of the household work all by yourself, right? It just takes away so much of your time. So that time frees up here in India, and you can focus on other important things in life.
Yeah.
Mine has been great. And overall, I just feel like I live in Nagpur.
Yeah.
And back in the days, Nagpur was still a good city, but now Nagpur has grown and developed like anything. The roads are amazing. There are flyovers everywhere. They have developed fabulous metro system. And now you have all kinds of shopping malls and big restaurants and small cafes. Like there's just so much to do in Nagpur, which was not possible 20 years back. And I used to live in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I would definitely say right now, Nagpur, even though it's a tier 2 city in India, is so much more happening than Raleigh. I am busy. Like every day I'll have something to do in Nagpur, but that was not the same case in Raleigh.
Yeah.
Right? So there's just so much going on in India. India has become so happening. So I'm just having the best time right now.
That's fantastic. So I think you covered a lot of, awesome things that are happening in India, the developments, how everything is just so convenient. Are there any challenges that you have encountered or anything that, that was a little bit of struggles that you have to go through?
I think one thing that I noticed is like some simple processes also sometimes may take a lot of time to process. Like getting a driver's license may take may take a couple of days. Like in US, definitely like during COVID time, we were having challenges getting appointments. But now we have started getting appointments quickly, and you can just get done with your driver's license. But here in India, I feel like in general, uh, processes move a bit slower. It takes a while. There is a bit of a red taping. You have to go through multiple people. So I thought that was challenging. And then it also similarly boils down to like if I want to open something of my own. Like I heard if you want to start Airbnb, you have to get licenses and all, which takes like 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. But in Raleigh, I didn't have to do anything, right? Or I just went to the website and checked the city law, said, oh, you can open an Airbnb, you don't need any permission from us, and you just get started.
Yeah.
But in India, you have to just, the processes are too long sometimes, I feel like. And to just understand it, it takes a while, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like in India, right, a lot of people have talked about this word jugaad.
Yes.
In India, you have to figure out jugaad to, make certain things happen, especially on the business side of the thing, right? Or getting a very simple thing as a driver's license or a passport, right? For a passport, like, okay, you pay 2,000 rupees, but then you have to pay extra 3,000 bribe to someone to get it processed. So
Yeah.
I think that's the challenge I've noticed so far. Yeah.
Cool. So I think you kind of touched a little bit about on a financial planning, right? I think you started investing in India while in US itself. Is there anything that you wanted to cover for someone who is thinking about moving back to India? I mean, again, based on the growth story, based on your own experience, anything that you would guide or suggest on how they should think about from a financial planning perspective?
Absolutely. So what I did was I was saving almost, because I was a single person, I was able to save almost 30 to 40%, 30% of my salary. And I was making sure, initially I didn't understand the US market that well. So I was just putting it in my savings account. But the money that was also, I made sure that some uh, fixed amount and sending back to India like literally every month. And then that money was eventually being invested in mutual funds. And I enrolled in a plan called as SIP, which is called as Systematic Investment Planning.
Yeah.
And so you have to send every month a fixed amount of money. And another best part about India is that you can easily hire financial advisors in India. They are not very expensive. Unlike in US, where you have to invest a certain amount to be able to even get a financial advisor. But in India, it's very, very convenient and very easy to hire a financial advisor. So me and my father, we both have a financial advisor. He's a common financial advisor to both of us. And I would just send money to India. And on behalf of us, he was investing money in different mutual funds. So I feel like in India, you need active investment, right? Someone who's monitoring your investment, because India is a growing economy. Whereas in US, you can also invest in passive funds like index funds and all of that. I don't understand stocks that well. So just to be on the safer side, I was just investing in some index funds, S&P 500 index funds in US. But in India, I was having like a proper actively managed investment. And because of that, I feel like it really, really helped me. And then obviously there are other ways also that you can invest in India, like FDs. I feel like the FDs return is way higher than the CD returns in US, right? Yeah. CD offers you 3 to 4%, whereas in India you get almost sometimes even 8 to 9%, right? So FDs are also good, but I was purely focusing on mutual funds or equity, say. And that time it was growing, but I would say in last 2 to 3 years, it is growing like fabulously. Yeah. So I would recommend everyone to not let your money sit in the savings account, but actively invest in India. India is a growing market. Your money in 10 years will grow like anything. Not double, but I think 4 times, even 5 times. That's what my prediction is. So I would highly recommend everyone, even whichever country they are in the Western world, to start investing in India.
Okay, cool. Is there anything that we haven't covered that you want to bring up and convey to our audience?
Yeah, I think sometimes when we live in a different country away from our families, we sometimes don't tend to talk about mental health,
Yeah.
right? I think personally, I did struggle last for 2, 3 or 4 years with my mental health, right? I was depressed. I was anxious. I was nervous about how things will unfold in US. And then you're away from family also. And then also there comes a point, especially in your 30s, right? Even your social circle starts shrinking because everyone is getting married, having kids, people moving out of the city, moving out of state, even leaving the country altogether,
Yeah.
right? So there comes a point where your circle is also shrinking. You no longer have, physical or direct connect with your family members because they live in India, so you start feeling very lonely, alone. You're doing everything on your own, and it kind of takes a toll on your mental health. Plus, add to that the pressure of when will there was a possibility. Even there is a possibility right now where people are still thinking, oh, they might get laid off, right? So there is a added pressure of layoff. Then there is a pressure of visa issues. Then and Again, I feel like India is a very community-based society, whereas America is a very individualistic society. Right? So I used to live in this community where I hardly even knew my neighbors. But here, the moment I landed here in India, right, all my neighbors, they people will just come over and start talking to you, right? But in US, that's not the case. So there came a point where I was feeling very, very anxious and very depressed. But I wasn't feeling very happy or fulfilled, right? So I was going through a lot of mental health issues, I would say, and and that kind of completely disappeared the moment I came to India, right? Because here you don't feel lonely, not even a single minute. You're always surrounded by people.
Yeah.
You're always talking to some other people, right? So I just feel like a lot of people, when they are in US, they forget to focus on their mental health. And it's not necessarily their fault. It's just how the situation, circumstances, or surrounding is, right? So I think this is a very important point I would like to bring up. If you are living in any Western country, please focus on your mental health, because at some point it's definitely going to bother you. And if you are not doing mentally well, it also affects other aspects of your life, right? Whether it is work, whether it is personal relationships. So I feel like, mental health is very important that people tend to ignore.
No, very, very valid point, and thank you very much for bringing it up and sharing, such a candidly, right? I think this is such a common thing that maybe people might not acknowledge it, but especially when you are, it's an individualistic society, it just makes it much more harder, right? Because then you're by yourself, you're not having that kind of conversations. You think within yourself, which makes you anxious, and
Yes.
and it's just not a good cycle to be in, from that. So no, thanks for sharing that, and really appreciate it. Is there any advice that you want to give for people who are considering to moving back to India from your perspective?
Absolutely. So see, if, for example, if you are someone who has a family, I think in that case, you definitely have to do meticulous planning. Start planning out 1 year or at least 2 year in advance, right? Because you have kids, and then you have an entire family to take care of. And when I say start planning in advance, I also talk about start planning about or whether you want to do an internal transfer from your company here in America, or whether you want to, take a break for a while. If you want to take a break, can you take care of yourself and your entire family? Then figuring out, which city to settle down in, where your kids will be comfortable, which school you want your kids to go to, all right? And also preparing your kids, I feel like preparing them mentally 1 year in advance that, hey, we'll be moving back to our home country, and just kind of assessing how they feel about it,
Yeah.
right? But I think the most important aspect is financial, right? You Even if you're planning to take a break, make sure you are financially in a very, very good place that you can actually live So there is a possibility that you will not be able to find a job right away. Do you have enough money to live by yourself as well as support your family for at least next 1 year?
Yeah.
Uh, and that in that 1 year, not only you should be able to take care of all your home expenses, but also taking care of your kids, their school, and kids also tend to go to other activities, basketball, karate. That is one important aspect. And then if you're planning an internal transfer, again, for that, I would say start thinking about it 1 year in advance. Start talking to your colleagues or your superiors just to get an idea how your company will be comfortable doing that. Um, and um, and yeah, if you are a single person, I think being a single person, I think it gets way more easier. Yeah, because all you have to do is take care of yourself.
Yeah.
So for me, I just probably 3 to 4 months to get everything wrapped up.
Yeah.
But I've seen when families are moving, they definitely need 1 to 2 years to figure out the entire thing. It's very hard to do it in just 2 to 3 months. And for single people, I would also advise that, because you don't have any responsibility, just take a break. Take a breather for like 3, 4 months. Take a sabbatical. Travel the world. Travel India. Experience India. Right. See the grassroots of India. So I would highly recommend and highly advise. It will just broaden your horizon. You will start seeing the world in a much more different way. Right. So that will be my advice for single people, that if you have the opportunity, just take a break for a while. It will definitely change your life.
No, very valid and good advice. I mean, especially the planning is the most important aspect. And if you have the flexibility, nothing better than when you have time, energy, and the flexibility to do that. I think it's best time to do explore, and it just opens up so many things. So thank you very, very much for all your time and for sharing your journey with us, and really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Abhi. It was great having the chat with you.
That's great.
Thank you all for joining us on this insightful journey of Desi Return. If you enjoyed this episode and want to explore more stories and expert advice, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Don't forget to leave a comment below with your thoughts and experiences. By the way, check out the links in the description below for our Facebook group and social media for updates and engaging discussions, as well as connecting with fellow Desi Returners. Thank you once again, and until next time, may your Desi Return journey be filled with joy, growth, and endless possibilities.